by Samuel Schofield, November 13, 2017. During the presidential campaign and throughout the first year of his administration, U.S. President Donald Trump has repeatedly pushed for tougher enforcement of the United States southern border to curb illegal immigration and illicit drug flows from Mexico. It is on Mexico's southern border with Central America, however, that many of the current issues originate. Ironically, Trump's harsh rhetoric and proposed cuts to international aid could inadvertently amplify these problems. The U.S. southern border. For decades, the U.S. experienced high volumes of illegal immigration from Mexico, largely due to economic hardship in Mexico and inadequate and inconsistent enforcement by the U.S. However, in recent years the net immigration from Mexico to the U.S. has all but disappeared, and more Mexicans are in fact migrating within Mexico. This trend began well before President Trump came to office. Pew estimated that from 2009 to 2014, 1 million Mexicans left the U.S. and 870,000 arrived. Some of the changes stem from an improving economy and job market in Mexico, as well as improved border enforcement by both Mexico and the U.S. In the past year, undoubtedly, some have also been deterred by Trump's threats of increased deportations. The largest source of illegal immigration at the U.S. southern border now comes from Central American immigrants, specifically from the Golden Triangle, or Guatemala, Honduras and El Salvador. These countries have not witnessed the same degree of economic growth as Mexico, and high levels of corruption, poverty, and exposure to drug-related violence induce many to leave. Many Americans remember the surge in 2014 of unaccompanied children from this region seeking entrance to the United States. Mexico deported around 140,000 people in 2016, approximately 96% of whom originated from the Northern Triangle countries. When it comes to drugs, Mexican drug cartels remain the largest foreign suppliers of heroin and methamphetamines to the U.S., according to the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration (DEA). Mexican cartels have also become leading producers of fentanyl, a powerful synthetic. Cocaine largely originates from Bolivia, Colombia, and Peru, but the DEA estimates that 9,394% of Colombian cocaine comes to the U.S. via the Mexico-Central America land corridor. Consequently, the need for drug cartels to move high volumes through this vast corridor has created significant employment opportunities in poor, Central American communities, but also widespread violence, which prompts many to flee north. Efforts to improve Southern Border Patrol. Recognizing the threats posed from Central America, in recent years, the U.S. and Mexico have enacted joint efforts to strengthen enforcement of both the U.S. and Mexico's southern borders. The U.S. views this border as the first line of defense against illegal immigration and drug trafficking into the U.S. and sees a role in filling the gaps that Mexico lacks the capacity to handle on its own that ultimately affect the American border. In an effort to curb immigration from unaccompanied minors from Central America, in 2016 the U.S. Congress approved $750 million to support the Obama administration's Northern Triangle Alliance for Prosperity plan, which doubled assistance to Central America from 2014 levels. On the security and law enforcement side, in 2007, the U.S. and Mexico launched the Merida Initiative, a partnership aimed at disrupting organized crime, institutionalizing reforms that support rule of law and human rights, and creating secure and modernized borders. To date, the U.S. Congress has appropriated $2.5 billion to the initiative. Additionally, the U.S. Department of State's Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement (INL) and the U.S. Department of Defense have worked to enhance Mexico's police and border patrol agencies, in part by funding a $75 million telecommunications project to improve secure communications between Mexican agencies working in 8 southern states. INL has also implemented programs with the U.S. Customs and Border Protection (CBP) and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) to strengthen law enforcement institutions and train Mexican police and military units to improve drug seizures in the southern border zone. Risks of neglecting Mexico's southern border. Unfortunately, the Trump administration's adversarial posture toward Mexico could actually endanger the ability to combat migration and drug flows into the United States, even with increased enforcement in the north. Andrés Manuel López Obrador AMLO, a leftist populist candidate for Mexico's 2018 presidential elections, has recently taken the lead in polls by running as the anti-Trump. AMLO has expressed strongly pro-immigration views, mainly in support of Mexicans residing in the U.S. and fearing, but also in terms of welcoming more migrants from Central America into Mexico. In response to Trump's initial DACA policy announced in September, AMLO responded, "In Mexico, the doors are open." Any continuation of hostile rhetoric from Trump could further strengthen AMLO's accelerating support for the presidency in 2018. Additionally, the difficulties of the current NAFTA renegotiations and Donald Trump's threats to exit the agreement altogether have even caused Mexico's current political leadership to state that they would reconsider cooperation with the United States on security and migration issues if the U.S. chooses to exit NAFTA. Additionally, while the Trump administration has ramped up immigration enforcement and proposed additional security measures at the U.S. southern border, it has also proposed sweeping cuts to international aid programs that will hinder Mexico's ability to sustain its achievements in enforcing its southern border with Central America. As of this summer, the Trump administration still proposed a 39% reduction in support for Central America in fiscal year 2018. Conclusion: overall, effective deterrence of illegal drugs and immigrants entering the U.S. will require some combination of enhanced enforcement at the U.S. southern border, as well as aid to Mexico to effectively police its own southern border. Mexico and the U.S. remain strong partners in commerce and security, but any efforts by one or both sides to further antagonize political disagreements or by the U.S. to cut transnational partnerships could severely jeopardize both countries' abilities to achieve their shared problems in this arena.